Hello, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening. Welcome to WeatherBrains episode number 555. Triple nickels. This is for Tuesday, September 6th, 2016, the pre-show. Magical time of the program where we share boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes, and occasionally say outrageous things. So this is the first time I've opened up the Hangout using not Hangouts, but YouTube. So who knows what's going to happen here? And for those that don't know how this sausage is made, we use a platform called Google Hangouts on the air. And for a long, long time, since the genesis of this, it was on Google Hangouts. Well, YouTube is kind of taking Google Hangouts and dissecting and bisecting and chopping up. And so photos has been taken out and moved as a separate entity, and Hangouts over the air is now over on the YouTube side. So that's the deal here. So I think it seems to work the same way. So it's a Tuesday night special. And Bill, I got to get my little graphic ready here. Bill Murray is at the Panic headquarters, ready for the National Weather Association annual meeting.
Yeah. 1 week from tonight, it will be in full swing. Wish you were coming, James.
Yeah, no. I'm going to Minnesota, of all places.
Minnesota. Yeah, the free ticket sales are rolling in on WeatherFest now. It's just crazy. I'm gonna ring my bell every time one comes in tonight.
I'll ring my bell.
Yeah, I can ring my bell. Ring my bell.
Yeah, this show's going right down the tubes. Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, this has been a dangerous NWA annual meeting because one of the program chairs got incapacitated, and then the other program chair, his Sue, had a heart attack, and he wasn't going to be able to come. So it was almost my annual meeting to be the program chair at all of a sudden. So I was like, geez.
Wow.
We're falling like flies over here. Brian Peters came to my house today.
What?
I know where he lives.
Oh, Lord.
How did you get past the guard shack, the guard gates there?
I slithered in.
Tell that to the guy who broke into the house across the street last week.
Uh-oh.
Came in 6 o'clock in the afternoon. The homeowner came home and said, "Oh, you need to move your car." And like, "Oh yeah, we're just doing a survey." We got into their house. They cleaned them out.
Wow.
Saw the people that talked to them the whole 9 yards. Isn't that crazy?
Right,
we have a new security system.
Yeah, I bet. Protected by Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
So, Aubrey, you look good. How's your audio doing?
How is my audio? Can you hear me?
Clean as a whistle.
Oh, perfect.
I talked to somebody.
And your hair looks good, too.
Aubrey.
Thanks. You talked to someone that what?
In your town. In Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Remy Pangle, who is a professor at your university there.
The name actually does sound familiar.
So anyway, they're doing the solar and wind teaching experiments Saturday at the WeatherFest.
Okay, I did an interview, and I did they have like a symposium for wind energy every year and stuff like that. So I've been over there for that.
They are doing the coolest things. They're going to build the solar house, and all the kids are going to put all the solar houses together and make a solar city.
Oh, that's cool.
They're going to build windsocks, and they're going to build pinwheels, and they're going to use them to power, things. So it's really cool. It's going to be one of the highlights of WeatherFest. It's the highlight of WeatherFest, except for Brian Peters, of course, who is in charge of the AV for the speakers. We have a good list of speakers, too, don't we, Mr. Peters?
We do. And they all haven't found out I'm using a Mac yet. They all go running and screaming from the WeatherFest.
We're gonna have Eric Blake from the National Hurricane Center doing a live tropical briefing Saturday via Skype.
Yeah, I got to check and make sure my laptop's got Skype on it now. I haven't used it in quite a while.
I'm so excited to go. I'm about to start packing.
Me too.
Brian made all the shirts himself, and they're beautiful.
I should have worn my shirt tonight.
I'll get my WeatherBrains polo. Got to bring that.
Yes, definitely.
I have to wear a suit too much of the time.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to be wearing a blazer.
I'm
not wearing a suit, a tie, or a long sleeve shirt.
I usually get to come to these things and just wear my polos like that. But this one, I'm gonna have to actually wear my corporate America suit.
Against what the consultant says, I'm going to take the blazer off.
There's something every single day, James. Something important. I get to introduce Dr. Louis Ussolini.
Yeah, I've advised Bill not to mention that he knows you, James.
Just
that's what I'm gonna lead off with.
Don't mention my name in any way, shape, or form, and maybe you'll not be defrocked like I'm going to be defrocked. So, do I need to invite guests, or are
I already
good here?
did, James. I'll put the Google address in the chat here in just a second.
Yeah. Again, I as far as I can tell, I don't see any difference. This is the first, starting September 12th, you have no choice. You have to open these things up via YouTube. So I boldly went where no man has been before. I went to YouTube and opened it up over there. And it's a little different on my side in terms of getting it started, but once it came up, it looks exactly the same. Everything looks identical. So I don't think the notifications are any different, or the links or anything else like that are different. So.
I had to go search for the notification. I couldn't find it. I had to go, I don't know, I had to kind of search for and go find Hangouts, and then it took a second to pop up. So it was a little different. That was scary.
Okay.
I didn't get an invite except via email.
Yeah, and again, we are in new territory here, but people are watching, so I know we are on the air everywhere.
We're on the air everywhere.
We'll join the TV side here in like 2 or 3 minutes. And if not, we'll see Engineer Roy or one of our engineering friends from Master Control here with that look of horror. The way they do this now, they've got us in the log system, and
what does that mean?
It's like automated. It's the Master Control thing just automatically brings this thing up at like 8:30 Central. So on a week like this, when we move it, I have to tell Norris Ingram, who's the traffic guy next door to us here.
Yeah. With a better office than our chief meteorologist.
Very clean office. Yeah, very nice office he has here. But, that way it doesn't just bring up dead air or something. So, but I think we're good for this week. So.
They might prefer that from time to time. They might prefer dead air.
Now, Brian, are you flying to Virginia or are you driving?
I'm flying. Southwest Airlines, late, red eye. I guess it's not a red eye. It's a sort of a pink eye, I guess. It's late. It's late night. I don't get there till well after my bedtime. So,
do they go straight to the airport there in Norfolk, or do you have to go somewhere else? Drive?
I have to go to Baltimore.
Oh.
And then, lucky me, I get to go through Disney World on the way home.
Oh.
If you ever get a choice of looping through an airport on the way back, go to Houston Hobby.
Ah, yes.
They have the best cheap Chinese airport food in America there.
I was going to ask if you needed to be picked up, Brian, but Baltimore's out of my way.
Yeah,
I need to be picked up at the airport in Norfolk, but I don't know. I've got to figure that all out. I haven't done all that.
How long is that? What's the drive from Baltimore down to Norfolk? How long is that?
I have no idea.
I think you need to get an Uber.
That's a hoof. Baltimore to Norfolk?
That would be a hoof, I think.
So you're not landing in Norfolk?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. You have a connection.
I thought you said you were flying to Baltimore.
I am. Birmingham, Baltimore, Norfolk.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were like exiting the airline flight and having to drive down there from Baltimore.
No, but since they fly over on the way to Baltimore, I could just take a parachute and jump out. But they didn't think that was a good idea.
Not recommended.
The moral here is never let Brian be your travel agent.
Hey, show title. Show title, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
I don't think I'll be there when you're getting there because I'm not getting in till late Saturday.
No, it'd be a problem. I'm getting there late Thursday.
Oh, yes, I'll definitely get there.
Wow.
That's not me. That's not me.
Wow.
Grand Central Station.
Wow.
Holy mackerel.
Means our guest can't. Whenever Bill has this look on his face,
He makes that face.
that look right there, like he has gas. That means the guest can't get on the show. So I think he wants me to invite him. I have.
What if we got a frame grab of that look of Bill and made that the next T-shirt?
Yeah, I think that's
that would
it.
work.
That'd be all right.
Let me welcome
When
our
you see
television.
his face.
Let me welcome our television viewers. For those of you watching on the television side, this is WeatherBrains, a Tuesday night special. We didn't do a Monday night show because Bill wanted to watch college football. We all know the reason. I mean, we all know the reason.
Football.
I wouldn't have been here last night anyway, so.
Yeah, and Brian is a Florida State guy. So
I have a
Knowles.
question for Aubrey. What
Yes.
is to your side there? You have a couch in your weather office? What is that over your shoulder?
This?
Yes.
That would be a little
it's
bar
just a
stool.
chair. It
A
looks
little
like
bar
a
stool.
different type of. It looks like a couch or something.
Nope, it's actually pretty comfy.
The back seems awfully low. That would probably cause me trouble.
It's actually not too bad, but I'm in the nice padded chair.
Yeah. See, I'm
the
tall.
queen chair.
The throne.
The throne, yes. Now, Aubrey, you said you're coming on Saturday?
It's coming on Saturday. I'm so excited.
So you're going to miss Weatherfest.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
that's terrible.
Laura Mock and I are going to get in late Saturday, probably around dinner time-ish. So we'll probably have a beverage because I believe it is her birthday.
That's interesting, James. My invitation to connect to you on this thing just popped up in the Google Hangout that I was logged into.
Yeah, I
Google
haven't
Plus.
got one yet. I had to go in.
I got one via email,
No, I didn't get an email today.
except I couldn't get in. I mean, I had to do it like 6 times.
Now, I go down to the lower left of my Gmail now and pick up the Hangout thing there, and it's always there.
and Kevin, just so you'll know, this is the first time I've initiated this thing through YouTube.
Oh, I was going to ask about
And-
that.
Yeah, because they give this notice like on September 12th, it goes off of Hangouts.
Right.
So, being a guy that tries to stay ahead of the game, I went to YouTube and initiated it over there. I don't know what is different. I mean, the production side looks looks the same.
That's not
Nick?
me, whatever all that noise
Nick,
is.
you okay there?
I think I'm with you. Did you hear me?
Wow, that's a cool looking microphone. What is that?
I'm not sure he's on that mic.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why.
It's a prop.
Everything.
Yeah. It's
It's
cardboard.
expensive.
It does nothing.
Oh, prop. I thought you said problem. That's funny. Prop.
Yeah, I've got one of these right here. It's like made of styrofoam. See, I got it at Rooms to Go.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, it's just an expensive prop then, I guess.
Well,
Hey,
you should be able to
hey,
find settings, Nick, up in the upper center of the video window. There's a settings where you have to tell it which microphone you want to be on.
Little gear icon up there, and you should be able to pick your source.
a little which icon is that?
If
He's
you
got, well, he's
gotta-
on a mobile device, so it may be.
oh,
Oh, I don't know.
well, still there
So
should be.
if you're on a mobile device, how's the mic connected to it?
It's connected through a special adapter I've got. And I use-
Special
still be-
super
Special secret
duper
adapter.
adapter.
This may be the coolest hookup we've had yet for a microphone.
He has the new lightning dongle for the released iPhone tomorrow.
Yeah, he's a day ahead of schedule since the headphone jack is going away.
You go, Nick.
It's not going away.
I guess then maybe the show title "Fooling with Nick's Dongle" wouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah, we got to
Oh
pick that
my
one.
god. gosh.
4 minutes into the show, and we're already down the tubes.
Yeah, we're down the tubes, and we have a show title here. So, hey, Nick, tap on that thing, and let's see if that's the. No.
No. I've never tried it with this software before, so maybe it's not going to do it.
Yeah, the audio's okay. It's just not that cool looking mic you got there working. So.
Yeah. So okay. Well.
All right. Let's roll this sucker.
I spelled dongle.
That's another show title.
That might be the better
That's
one.
the show title for next week. How do you spell dongle? All right. Let's get this thing rolling here. Stand by. Silence.
Skulls, I'm broadcasting.
There we go. I love that drop. I'm going to use this more often.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
All right.
Boy, I can see how much you think of us, James.
Yeah.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Our listeners are the greatest. They send us these drops. I don't have to do anything. They just send them to us. I mean, my soundboard is full of drops submitted by the listeners here. And Nick, since your whatever doodad you've got is hot, when I might mute you because when you adjust it, it makes a banging noise. So if I mute you, you just unmute yourself because the audio
is hot.
Yeah. Another show title. Wow. Oh, for those watching on the television side, I'm so sorry. No, I'm not sorry. We do this every week. All right, here we go. Stand by. Here we go. Let me get the recorders going here.
Yeah, please don't forget those.
No, and I've done that before. Recorder 1, recorder 2. And here we go. And I'm doing the sponsor intro still, right, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This episode of WeatherBrains is brought to you by the Soch Reports, providing meteorologists with social media insights to grow their brand and followers. Broadcasters, stop by the booth at the National Weather Association meeting September 11th through the 13th in Norfolk, and a little bit later in this podcast, learn about a great offer only available for those who are attending the NWA annual meeting.
This is WeatherBrains episode number 555 for September the 6th, 2016. We are now past Labor Day and we are into meteorological fall. I just like saying that. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. We've got a show. It's ahead of the annual National Weather Association meeting. And Brian Peters, you are winging your way to Virginia, getting ready for this thing soon, right?
Winging my way. And yes, what's this about meteorological fall? Holy mackerel. Haven't you told my thermometer? I mean, good Lord, I think my high today was either 95 or 96.
Well, so on this date in, let's see, yesterday's date in 1925, Brian, what was the record high in your state on that day?
Let's see. Was that 118 or something like that?
112.
112. Okay.
Yeah, September 5th.
At Centerville.
At Centerville, Alabama, yes.
There's a small community southwest of Birmingham called Centerville, and they hit 112, and that is the record for the state of all months, days, period. And it was in September. Every year it's fun. People they're just shocked. I'm shocked. I'm telling you, it's not supposed to be hot in September. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's always been hot. I'm an old man. I mean, I am old as dirt. And it's always been hot in early September. But the mornings are cool. And the dew point got down in the 50s this afternoon. So
wasn't that nice? It was so actually the 95, 96 wasn't so bad because the dew point was down.
So Brian, you're going to the NWA annual meeting. I understand you have an official capacity at this thing. Explain, please.
I'm the AV guy for the speaker sessions at the Weatherfest. And then I'm helping out volunteering, although it seems like they've got a lot of the volunteer slots filled. I'm helping out with any of the AV stuff.
Okay,
I
and
just
we'll
scare
get
people when they see my Mac.
Yeah, Bill Murray's the tallest hog in the trough. We'll get him
Yes.
to explain all this here in just a minute. But Kevin Selly, are you going to the National Weather Association annual meeting?
I wish that I was, if for no other reason than I would get to meet Aubrey, because she's the only weather brain that I have not met, but I can't go, no.
Wow. No, it's funny. You know, I'm actually taking 2 days off next week, but I will be in Minnesota. speaking at a function, weather function. Why would they hold a weather function in the middle of the NWA week? And it never dawned on me when I accepted that appearance that it was the same week as the NWA, because the NWA has never been this early in the years. So
why don't you just quit and go on the speaking tour? You could be like Hillary and make millions of dollars a year.
All right. Who's my agent? Kevin, is that you? No. I need to pay people to speak. So Kevin Selly is in Wichita Falls, Texas, and I know indeed it can be hot in Texas in September.
Our high today was 97 degrees, and that's pretty warm. The average is about 93, so we were well above that. But we do a thing on random nights where we call it anchor trivia, and I'll ask the anchors, some weather trivia thing. I was just preparing an anchor trivia question for tonight's 10 o'clock show, and the question is, I'll give you a preview. How many days in the month of September in Wichita Falls have record highs 100 or above?
22.
Anybody else?
I'll say 18.
I'd say I take all of them. I say every day in September.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. James is right. All of them.
I was going to go for that.
Yeah, because the more I think about it, goodness, you've had triple-digit heat all the way to the end of the month.
So there
it can be brutal. There you go. You learn a lot on this show.
And the dew point was hovering near 70 for much of the afternoon.
Oh.
Wow.
Where we are here, and we should probably hold this for the weather roundup, but we dropped below 70 for the first time since July 1st today.
Wow.
I loved your statistic. I thought that was great.
Yes. I mean, that's a move in the right direction here. Aubrey Urbanowitz is the most classy and talented person on the show. She is in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and I know you're going to NWA.
I'm so excited. It's my first conference.
Wow. Now, is this your first... So you're a seasoned veteran, and you've never been to one of these before, huh?
No, I've only been to the Mississippi State, and actually I found out today that another female meteorologist who I became friends with back through the Mississippi State program, and we went to the conference together when I graduated. She's actually coming all the way from California to Norfolk, so very excited. I get to see her. She's kind of one of the first friends I've made in meteorology. So excited to catch up.
Awesome. I've said this before. To me, that is like a family reunion, the National Weather Association meeting. And maybe it's because I'm old and I've been doing this a long time, but I have so many good friends I see, and we have so many laughs, and we have so much fun together. And you just run into people you haven't seen in years, and it's just a marvelous event. And if you are not an old person like me, if you're young like Aubrey, you can begin to make new friends. And before you know it, it will be like a family reunion. And this is not to take away from the AMS annual meeting, but the AMS annual meeting, it is larger. It is more complex. You've got all these sessions going on at the same time. And you've really got to map this thing out before you even think about going to AMS. But the NWA is not quite as intense.
I have a question for Aubrey, though.
Yes.
Good.
Aubrey, some months ago, we had a show title that said that was I didn't use the bail money, and that was prompted by you. Will you be taking bail money to the NWA meeting?
It probably would be a good idea. I'm going
And
to say,
James.
with Laura Mock and I, especially coming in Saturday night, I'm going to say it might be necessary to have her back up.
So there's fair warning.
What James was saying with, even though I am not a seasoned veteran, with social media, what's going to be really fun is to actually meet people that I talk to on Twitter and stuff and have conversations with, and actually put the face to the Twitter handle and stuff. So I'm kind of excited, even though I've never really done these conferences except for a couple of local National Weather Service workshops. But to actually meet a lot of the people that I, chat with and have conversations with on Twitter. So I think that'll be really cool too.
So
and
fair
James,
warning for the Norfolk Police Department. There you have it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I will
James,
not tell you what I drive.
You asked me what I was doing there. You didn't ask me what the high points of my trip would be.
Well, just tell us, Brian.
The high points of my trip, and these are kind of equal, is I'm going to get the opportunity to meet Aubrey and Ginger Z.
Wow.
Yes.
Fantastic.
High on the hog.
You mean to say that I am right up there with Ginger?
You are right up there because you're the only member of the.
I'm very honored. If you
I guess I actually. Well, okay. Dr. John's not with us right now, so you're the only member that I haven't met.
Okay, all right, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to meet you and Dr. John, and maybe if I play my cards right, Ryan, you can introduce me to Ginger too.
Well, I'm just thinking of a perfect picture is me between you and Ginger.
Can you imagine? I think we might take down Facebook if we did that.
Could be.
So let's bring in Bill Murray. Bill, I had to mute you for a second. Whenever I mute you, that means you're in timeout for making strange noises. Bill
giving me the look.
Yeah, Bill had some gas problems or something there. But Bill, first off, let me congratulate Brian Peters for Brian. Your football team had a big win.
Thank you.
Monday night, beating Ole Miss. And Bill, congratulations to you. Your team had a big win this past weekend, defeating Southern Cal. So congratulations, sir.
Wait, how does Brian say thank you? Did you play?
I cheered. I cheered. I'm the 12th man or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but according to our coach, we need some improvement, James. So we're working on improvements.
So you know what happens this Saturday. The Alabama has their first home game, and I'll be at that venue as I have been for many years doing my thing, and it's going to be about 1,000 degrees on the field, I think. So, but
in the traffic besides.
They play, I think, Western Kentucky Saturday. Is that right, Bill?
The Hilltoppers. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I spoke there a couple of years ago. It's a great place. They have a great program, meteorology program, and maybe see some of my buddies there. But Bill, bring in our guest and let's talk about NWA, because you're the big man on campus. Bill, for those that don't know, is the vice president of the National Weather Association.
So thank you very much, James. Tonight, the guest WeatherBrain needs no introduction. Of course, he's been a popular anchor at the Weather Channel since 1999. Prior to that, he was at KIRO and KSTW in Seattle. He's a counselor of the National Weather Association and has held several positions over the years. Nick, welcome back to the show.
And I bet you, I got Nick muted too.
I bet you do too. Unmute Nick. Free him, James. Free him.
I can't do that myself. Nick has to do it himself. Once I mute somebody, you have to go in there and unmute yourself. So
unmute thyself, Nick.
Hit that little mic button.
There we go.
Bingo.
Got me now.
Bingo. Loud and clear. You're free at last.
Okay. All right, so start over, Nick.
And I tell you, it is an honor to be among such distinguished folks as yourselves. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Well, I'm excited because Saturday, and there's the really cool thing, unless he hears this and he runs and doesn't come to Norfolk, is Dr. John Scala will be wearing a Swami hat at the Weather Fest and answering questions. So
playing Karnak?
Yes, exactly, Kevin. So, he's so good at answering all those questions. He's going to be manning the WeatherBrains booth at WeatherFest. And so we bought him this big, looks like a Jiffy Pop popcorn hat. And he's going to wear that and answer questions. Dr. John Scala is so good. We've got a panel Wednesday afternoon. We all know Gina Yasko and Jen Henderson, great social scientists. And they're doing a panel about feedback and using feedback in our organizations. And, I suggested Dr. Scala I suggested two people, actually, Dr. Scala and Nick. And Nick, you won the coin toss, so you got to decline. But Dr. Scala is going to be the moderator of this panel. And he was on the call today. He's just so good at that. He came at it with about 100 questions, and he's really going to take it over. So it's going to be fantastic. But it's going to be great to see you there, Nick, because you're going to be performing at WeatherFest on Saturday. I can't believe it's just 4 days away. That's hard to imagine.
It's coming up. Yeah, it really is. I am looking forward to it. This is one of the things that I really enjoy doing is getting on stage and talking to people and families. This is kind of my thing. My alter ego for several years has been the weather dude, and I basically try to teach kids how the weather works and weather safety, preparedness through music. And I don't know too many other people who incorporate music into what they do, but it's something that I just can't keep from doing. Music has always been a part of me, and so I've been able to channel this into weather education, and I love doing it.
Well, our people have been negotiating with your people, Nick. So I hear we're up to 3 shows now. This is the lineup for WeatherFest right here. It's really huge.
Okay.
And Nick's going to be performing at 12, 2, and 4 in Norfolk on the stage on the front deck out there. So that's going to be fantastic. And we got a bunch of other great speakers. Dr. Marshall Shepard is going to be there. Bill Reed is going to be speaking. We're going to have a live briefing from Eric Blake at the National Hurricane Center. It's just going to be fantastic. And the schedule is full. The booths are full. We've got 42 exhibitors. It's going to be fantastic. So.
Now, last time we did this, we did a WeatherFest at in Birmingham, and that was the last time I believe that we did this kind of event. And I performed on stage that time, but this time I've got video with me. I didn't have video there in Birmingham, but thanks to Brian there, he's going to fix me up with some TV monitors, and so we'll have some live music video ongoing here to teach weather.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the pictures of you from the stage in Birmingham in 11 are some of the highlights, and we've used them to promote this event, and have gotten a lot of attention because of them. Nick, thank you very much. So, well, we don't see as much on the Weather Channel.
With the air guitars with Jen.
Yeah, those are just outstanding. Those are super. We've used those so much. We don't see you enough on the Weather Channel. Who do we complain to now, Nick?
Well, you can complain to the big bosses. Yeah. I'm only in a fill-in capacity now. They bring me in whenever they have a big storm like Hermine, or when somebody's sick, or if somebody doesn't show up for work. That's when I get to go in.
So, talk to us for a minute about, some of the things that are going on over there. We hear little bits and pieces of things. Things have split up and have changed a little bit. How much can you tell us?
Well, being just part-time now, I'm not quite as privy to all the inner functioning of the Weather Channel as I used to be. But as you said, a while back, we did split up. IBM came in and purchased the website, weather.com. They purchased the mobile app units. They basically took everything except the television network. So, I guess what goes around comes around. Everything is new again. It's like, okay, here we are, a television network all by ourselves, like we started out in the early 80s, before we added all that other stuff. So, that's kind of where I'm at, is a part of the television network, although we still do things for the for weather.com, and there's still a little bit of crossover, because, we're working beside one another, even sometimes in the same room, even though we work for different companies now.
Nick, there must have been a lot of people that said, "Well, why didn't they take the TV? What was the scuttlebutt around that?"
I don't have any idea, except just that IBM is a technology company,
right?
They do computers, they do online stuff, they do mobile stuff. Sort of the idea is that they don't do TV. They take they took what they do, but of course it does beg the question: what is the future of television? Are we going to be around? And I think we've known for years that that TV, as it has been, and as I've been in it for 30+ years, is changing, and is not going to be the same television business that it was in the past. And really, it's already changing, and who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, you
guys
are just such a tremendous visible resource, though, that it just seemed odd to me. I mean, I guess we can speculate as to why, but again, it's sort of the, you're the welcome mat or the foyer or something to the rest of the stuff. And I just thought that was kind of an odd choice. Again, you guys are such a tremendous resource.
Well, some of us felt a little left out. Yes, that's true. But it sort of made sense, at the time, and we'll go on, as a television network, and the weather.com still is the Weather Channel, sort of, even though it's owned by a different company. You'll see my face on weather.com now and then doing forecasts. I do taped segments for weather.com. So it's probably really only broken up in a sense that we get different paychecks from different companies. I don't know that the public's going to see all that much difference, at least for now.
So I ask these nosy questions here, Nick.
Yeah.
So is Sinclair buying the Weather Channel?
Say again.
Sinclair Broadcast Group. This is the rumor floating through the grapevine here. That's been out there in the media. So is Sinclair Broadcast Group buying the Weather Channel?
Not that I know of, but you know, James, I probably don't know any more than you do. I look on the internet and I read the articles and I go, okay. And I talk to people at work and they say, yeah, I've read the articles too. You know, my experience is where there's rumors, there's nuggets of truth, and only time will tell. I don't know anymore. I wish I did, though. See, the truth, Nick really knows, but if he told us, he'd have to break our legs or something. So, yeah. No, I don't know. You know, and obviously, Brian and I work for Sinclair, and they snatched up our company 2 years ago, and they will snatch up property. Say that, but we'll see. Who knows? We might be in the same family one day. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
What do they think the value of the Weather Channel is now, and what was it at its peak? How's the change in broadcast landscape affected the value of the company? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Just the figures I've read, and frankly, I can't remember the figures, but I remember when the partnership of NBC and Bain Capital and everything took over all of the properties, that you know, it was valued in the billions, and it seems that the television channel is not valued as much as it was then, according to the articles that I've read. And again, I don't know any more than those.
So Nick, talk about the behind the scenes with the forecasting and the meteorology and all that. How has that changed at the Weather Channel?
Well, you know, we've always done our own forecasting. We've had a team of forecasters, and there still is a team of forecasters there. It's you know, unlike local television, it's very segmented. You know, the forecasters forecast, and that's what they do. That's all they do. The guys on the air don't forecast. They are on the air. That's what they do. And so, you know, there's conversations that go on between the two. But you know, I haven't done a forecast in a long time, other than, you know, in my own head. You know, I always have my opinions, but officially we have forecasters who do the forecast, and it's basically for continuity. You know, if all of the different meteorologists did their own forecasting, then there might be too much disagreement and the public would get confused. So that's kind of how that is done. We have other meteorologists who concentrate mostly on making the graphics. I don't do graphics either, and I miss that a little bit from local television, to be honest with you, because that you know, there's a little bit of artistry involved in that. So as I said, we're kind of segmented because we have so many different people, and it's for continuity's sake.
So Nick, proprietary models, things like that, how much are those playing a role now in the forecasting at the Weather Channel?
You'd have to ask one of the forecasters to really get a definitive answer about that, Bill. I'm sorry that I don't have the answer to that.
It's always fascinating to me, you know, the goings on there. Of course, we've all followed that channel for many, many decades, and I remember meeting Jerry Tracy, who's still on the television in Birmingham, a good friend of ours, and who came from the Weather Channel. And when I met him, you know, he asked me one question, you know, as sort of like the initiation into the club. You know, he's like, Bill, what do you think is the most watched or most important part of the Weather Channel? And my immediate response was the weather on the 8s. So how important is that still to the audience, Nick?
I think it's important to the audience, but, you know, basically instead of weather on the 8s, it's weather all the time now. You know, at least on my HD channel, I'm constantly seeing the forecast, even during the commercials. Sometimes you see the forecast. So that's sort of evolved into weather all the time. And so the idea being that you turn on the channel and get your local forecast right there at any time. You don't have to wait till 8 after.
So, Nick, we were all, of course, very saddened by the passing of Dave Schwartz. Talk about him as a person and a friend and a cohort.
Well, I've known Dave a long time. As a matter of fact, even before I went to the Weather Channel, I was a huge Dave Schwartz fan. And then when I got to the Weather Channel, I was so excited to meet him. And what impressed me initially, and what continued to impress me over the years, is that what you see is what you get. What you saw on the air was exactly what he was like in real life. He was, a weather geek, fascinated with weather all the time. His daily routine, and some will think that's old-fashioned, but it's just still amazing to me. Every day he would come in. The first thing he would do, he would make a hand-drawn analysis of the nation's weather, and then he was constantly gleaning the internet and people around him for information. And every day he would send out an email of what he called weather wows, the wow factor, and it was just things he found interesting in the weather that day. And it wasn't stuff that he wanted to keep to himself and use in his own little segment, although he did use many of those things in his own segment. But he wanted everybody to know about it, so everybody could use that information on the air as well. He was just that kind of guy. What he found fascinating, he wanted everybody else to find fascinating as well. And he was everybody's friend. When he called you my friend, he meant it. He really did. And he had lots of friends. And everybody at the Weather Channel was incredibly fond of Dave over the years. And so when NBC came in and the other companies came in, and there was this massive layoff, Dave was caught up in that. And he was one of the on-camera people that was laid off at the time. And we were all scratching our heads, but who knows why people are laid off. I'm not sure why I got laid off this last time around. At least I get to come back and appear now and then. But when they brought him back, it was such a huge event for everybody who had worked with him in the past. And when they brought him back, and Dave Schwartz is back, we just were happy to welcome him with open arms. And he was the same old Dave, same old Dave that he always was. Funny, funny off air as well as on air. And he always liked to initiate people that he hadn't worked with before. I never forget the first time I worked with Dave. He would just say things out of the blue. Just say things. He would say, and here in Nashville, which, by the way, is the home of Nick Walker, where he was born. And then the next hour he would say, and here in Cincinnati, where, by the way, Nick Walker was born. And then and here, in Washington, D.C., by the way, Nick Walker was born in Washington, D.C. He gave me a different birthplace every hour. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. He never got around to that one. But he would always initiate somebody that he worked with in some funny way. And he would things would come out of his mouth that were just hilarious. Not too long before he left the air this last time, he was on the air with his partner, Alexandra, and she was off doing community service. We get a day off to do community service, and so Mark Elliott, I think, was filling in for Alex, and he says, Alex is doing community service, and Dave says, I believe that was court ordered, wasn't it? Say stuff, and so would always make us laugh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So Nick, talk about other favorite people that have come and gone over the years at the Weather Channel.
Wow, gosh, there have been so many. You know, I went to Dave's memorial service, and it was like a Weather Channel reunion of old faces. The people I saw there, and just it was so great to see them. Jill Brown was there. Talked to her for a while, and you know, Dennis Smith, who I actually still keep up with. We talk to each other now and then, and he was one of my supervisors, but and we worked together on the morning show together. Gosh, you know, Rich Johnson was laid off at the same time that we had that first massive layoff, but he's back now doing freelance fill-in work as well. So I get to see him now and then. So that's kind of old home week every time we end up working together. You know, there's who else? Gosh, you know, there've been so many people that I've worked with. You know, Kim Cunningham. You know, when I first began working with her, you know, her name was Kim Perez, Kim Cunningham, and I still talk with Kim now and then. But she was like a sister to me. We were on the air on the morning show for several years together, and then there was my other on-air sister, Vivian Brown, who I miss terribly, and it was wonderful. I worked with her 6 or 7 years, and we were on the air during some of the most incredible severe weather events that we shared, Katrina and Rita and some other events. So yeah, there's lots of great memories over the years of that 17 years at the Weather Channel, and I hope they'll let me continue to come in and make a few more memories before I'm done.
Well, we hope so too, and we would recommend that strongly to management. But 11 years ago tonight, the country was still reeling in the wake of Katrina. We had John Zarella on the show last week, and he told some incredible stories from being there, Nick. And of course, you probably were covering it from Atlanta, but what are some of your reflections on that hurricane and then the subsequent drought and hurricanes that we've had since then?
Yeah, boy, that year, of course, was amazing. Well, 2 years, 2004 and 2005. It was just never let up. And you know, when we finally had the last hurricane of the 2005 season, which was late in the year. Actually, I guess we had a tropical entity in January of 2006. But it was just an incredible year, and we were just constantly exhausted but exhilarated at the same time. It was an odd combination because we knew that's what we were there for, and really that's the Weather Channel's bread and butter is tropical coverage, and boy oh boy, we had the coverage that year. You know, Katrina was one of those odd ones, and I think you even touched on it last week. I remember I was on in the morning covering it, and we got off the air, and I was thinking, gosh, we may have dodged a bullet here. We may have, you know, we may be okay there in New Orleans. And then, of course, the subsequent levee flooding came, and, you know, after the winds died down, and we knew, you know, this was going to be an ongoing tragedy. So so things turn out a little bit differently sometimes than what you think they're going to be, even while you're doing it. But again, that was a year that we will never forget. Then you mentioned the drought. Since then, you know, it was after we had those couple of years in a row, you kind of think, okay, gearing up for the next season, you know, and you know, we're ready to tackle another big one, and it didn't happen, and you keep thinking, is the big season going to happen again? You know, you don't want there to be a lot of landfalling hurricanes, obviously, for safety's sake. But at the same time, when you sort of live and breathe that sort of thing, you miss it. You miss the coverage a little bit, and you miss not only covering the event, but also keeping people vigilant and warned. And it worries me a little bit that that we're not vigilant. There was 11 years of a hurricane drought there in Florida before Hermine hit, and you wonder how many new people are there who have settled there who have never experienced a tropical storm or hurricane, or have forgotten what it's like. And so you sort of have to re-educate people all over again, it seems, every time.
So Nick, you talked about the Hermine coming through, and obviously it was a very strange and unpredictable storm. And there were all kinds of crazy forecasts and things, and sort of we seemed like we probably dodged a bit of a bullet with this one as to what it might have been. But talk about Hermine for a minute, and, your analysis of it.
Well, we followed it for so long, before it even did anything. It was just amazing. And at first, our thinking was, okay, is this even going to be a hurricane? And it didn't look like it was going to be. And then of course, as time went on, we saw that it was strengthening, and it's always interesting what the word hurricane does, to people's reaction and their level of preparation and their level of just being ready. I don't know how many times I've heard, and you've probably heard it too. Oh, it's only a tropical storm. Which of course is a horrible misnomer, but the moment we had hurricane warnings in Florida, even before Hermine became a hurricane, the moment we had hurricane warnings, all of a sudden it was like the lights came on and everybody woke up, and you could just sense that from social media and just the level of what people were seeing in the field. And so it was that was interesting to me, how things suddenly came alive and real for people, and hopefully in time for them.
Well, Nick, did you feel like that the Hurricane Center's new policy of continuing to issue advisories on the system as long as it was a threat to the United States was a good idea? Obviously, it must have been, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And a lot of us, after Sandy, were pretty much in agreement that that was a good idea, and we're glad to see that implemented. To actually see it, in practice was interesting, because it's a challenge to sort of communicate that in a new and different way. It's like, okay, we have a post-tropical cyclone, but we still have tropical storm warnings. It still could give us the same sort of symptoms of a hurricane. Surge and high winds and waves, and so communicating that was difficult. It was a challenge, and I don't know how many times I said, it's a post-tropical cyclone, with air quotes, post-tropical cyclone, but, it still could bring hurricane or tropical storm-like effects to these areas, to the coastal areas. So it was a new and different way of communicating that we haven't done before. But I think it was a good move by the National Hurricane Center to continue to do that, because it kept that level of awareness up to where it needed to be, I think, throughout the duration.
I thought it was interesting to hear today the emergency manager of the city of Norfolk on our call, talking with Dr. Scala and the social scientists, and having, one of them ask him, were you, what products did you use the most? Which products, prompted action for your constituents, and he consistently mentioned, videos and graphic products. And, and they finally asked him, do you put much reliance in the text products that the Weather Service spends so much time building and creating? And he said, absolutely none.
And I thought that was an interesting epiphany for me, you know, that these huge HLSs and advisories and all this are really probably going the way of the emu here.
Interesting. I'd like to hear more, because I haven't really heard much from that end. What were you hearing as far as their reaction?
Well, of course, you know, we didn't have a lot of Weather Service folks on the call today. You know, we had Alan Gerard, you know, who's in Norman now, you know, in a different role, and of course, you know, there at the meeting we're going to have, you know, a lot of Weather Service people. Yeah. So, you know, the audience that day will be, you know, the job is to get them involved and get them interacting with the panel, and, you know, asking questions and talking about, you know, feedback. But, you know, here came this little nugget of feedback out of this call today that I thought was, you know, was very unique and very enlightening for me.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking about the National Weather Association conference, of it being sort of a family reunion. It really is a great way to get that kind of feedback in ways that you know, I would never hear it otherwise. And so, like you, I hope to talk with more people and try to get some more feedback, get some more discussion, and hear more about you know, how all that worked out for everybody, and take it back, you know, to where I work and talk with the folks there.
So Nick, you're a counselor right now for another year, and you know, you've been a member of the NWA and actively involved in leadership for a long time. What are some of the roles you've held over the years in the association?
Well, I was trying to remember the year that I had my first conference. It was back in Oklahoma City, long time ago. It would have been 1995 or something around in that time. You know, I didn't know anybody from around the country. I was actually fairly new to doing weather. I'm one of these guys who transitioned from being a news reporter into weather kind of by accident, because my boss calls me into his office and said, our weekend weather guy is going to be leaving as of tomorrow, and so by this weekend I need you to be ready to go on the air to do the weather forecast. And so once I got over the fear, I took the challenge and really never looked back. So I'd only been doing weather for a short amount of time when I went to my first weather conference, but I was just fascinated at the different talks, at being able to network with so many different people from around the country, and so immediately I started asking, you know, how can I get involved in this organization? You know, what can I do? And so I kept asking that, and so finally somebody said, well, why don't you run for council? And I did, and lost, and then ran again the next year, and ended up being on the council for 3 years, and really got a sense of the inner workings of things. I think I'd been a part of the organization for 4 or 5 years before I finally got on the council, and then just a few years ago, I was on the broadcast committee. I was the chairman of the broadcast committee for a while and served on the committee as past chair, and now, of course, Nate has taken over those duties. I'm looking forward to seeing how he continues to grow the committee. We went through a lot of growing times during that time. We actually have sort of revamped the SEAL program during the time that I was on the broadcast committee. The digital SEAL was something that we brought in while I was serving on the committee. So a lot of new and different things while I was serving on the committee. And now I'm on the council again, as you mentioned. This is my second year, and so looking forward to this meeting and seeing where we go from here, because I know we've got some pretty interesting things on our plates that I know we can't reveal tonight, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, there are some fun things that we're going to get to talk about in Norfolk, and I'm very excited about those things, and I know the association will be too. Yeah, it's a fun organization because you can get involved, and I really applaud Janice and the team there in Norman, because they are working really hard to make sure that people that ask to volunteer get opportunities to serve. And so I think the process of the committees is so important. Someone was asking me today about the committee and the committee arrangement and the commissioner of committees and how all those things work. And that's a hugely important role because all these committees do most of the work. And so it is a great opportunity. Just check that box, when you do your membership, you want to be a part. We've got 37 volunteers for, Friday night and Saturday for WeatherFest coming out of the association, which is just huge. Brian's ordered each and every one of them a special shirt, and we're gonna have a lot of fun because of that. But you can see, as soon as you get your travel orders and you're coming, you can sign up for these sort of things. All of the IT is done by volunteers. There's several big events in this function this coming week that will be entirely put on by volunteers. The student mentoring, that many of us act as mentors, and I see these bright-eyed and fresh-faced kids that come to be mentees, and you really see that you make a difference in this organization. And literally, 10 years ago, I was just a card-carrying member. And because of the event in Birmingham, I got to be, actively involved and, follow that same route you were talking about. I think you have to lose 1 year running for council. Nick, I think it's a requirement before you get to be on the council. But
yeah.
I would have to say now, the top to bottom, the council, the leadership, the HQ, everything at the NWA is as not to say anything about the past, but I think it's as good as it's ever been.
You mentioned the student mentoring. That has become a highlight of the week for me. I've done that for the last several years, just talking with the students and critiquing their air checks, and just I love to see their excitement, and also I love their determination. Even when we say, "Look, okay, it's a tough business." I've been at over 30 years, and in that time I've been laid off 3 times. So just get ready for that sort of thing. And they say, okay, I really want to do this. And if they're unfazed by all the negative things you tell them, then you've got somebody. And so I love talking with the students. We're doing a teachers workshop again this year. We haven't done that in a while. Yeah, and I'm looking for that. We got like over 100 teachers signed up to come to this thing, and I'm going to get to present to the teachers as well, which is something I love doing. James, I know you do school visits, and you've been doing them for years. That's something that's always been something that I've loved to do, and talking with teachers. And so I'm really looking forward to that on Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah, Jeff Tung and Eleanor Valier Talbot have done a fantastic job, as they always do when they get the opportunity. But I think this time they've outdone themselves. So it's going to be really, really huge. So, what sort of advice, are you giving kids right now, besides what you just said, be prepared for the, the inevitable, pink slip somewhere along the way. What other advice are you giving them right now, Nick?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we don't know where television's going. And just to be ready to do a lot of different things. The days of coming in and doing the 6 o'clock news and the 10 o'clock news and going home in between for dinner, is long gone. And just making sure that they understand that it's a changing business. And that there's a whole lot more going on with internet and social media, and just staying on top of things. That's probably the biggest thing, and most of them, I think, have been told that enough already that they realize that. But just in case, they need to understand that it's not your grandfather's weather forecast anymore. It's a whole new thing.
Well, there's no question about that. Say what? Say that again?
I saw you put up the Weather Dude website there.
Oh yeah, so let's take it a step farther here, okay?
Oh, good for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, WeatherBrains, bringing to you the sounds of weather. Yes, Nick Walker, the song that you've been wanting to hear the whole show. Turn around, don't drown.
Have you seen the rain pour so hard upon the ground? Pretty soon it's plain that a flood is coming round. Water's on the rise as you are driving in your car.
So I asked the nosy questions. Now, did you produce all of this on your own or write these? Tell us about the music that you got here.
You know, I mentioned earlier, music's always been part of me, and I've just, it all started back when I was doing presentations to classrooms. We had 3 people on our weather staff, and the other 2 guys didn't want to do classroom presentations, and they said, Nick, you're the guy who needs to do the classroom presentations. So I was doing one day. Actually, it was a teacher friend of mine, and afterwards I was just talking with her, sort of bemoaning the fact that I was having trouble holding the students' attention. And she knew me. She knew that I sang and played guitar and wrote songs. And she says, why don't you write a weather song? And so it's like, wow, that's a good idea. So I went home and began writing a weather song. A couple of weeks later, I incorporated it into my classroom presentation, and it made all the difference in the world. And so I said, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. So I went ahead and wrote 9 more songs, and then recorded a CD of songs about different weather phenomena, thunderstorms, the seasons, cloud types, wind and air pressure. And for a long time, after I did that, I always wanted to do something about severe weather, and particularly severe weather preparedness. And I waited a long time. My oldest son grew up. He got into the music business and became a record producer. And so he came to me and he says, Dad, isn't it about time you recorded that severe weather CD? You got any songs? I said, well, I got a couple. And he said, well, he challenged me to write some more. So I did. And I was kind of dragging my feet. And then April 27th, 2011 happened with all the tornadoes across the South, and I realized, okay, we got to get people prepared for severe weather, and it was sort of at that moment that I realized I'm gonna finish this project and try to use it to help people prepare for severe weather. So you know, there's that song "Turn Around, Don't Drown." I've got "When Thunder Roars, Go Indoors." I've got a song about lightning safety, a song about what to put into your emergency kit, those sorts of things. Trying to encourage weather preparedness, and so I've used any money that comes in from the sale of that music to go toward helping people who have suffered in storms, plus trying to educate people so they won't end up suffering from severe weather storms. So it's kind of a
does your son have his own studio, Nick? Where'd you record these?
Yeah, he has a home studio, and it's amazing what you can do in a home studio. And you know, there's some big major label records that are actually recorded in home studios. It's incredible. And so yeah, we just did it in his home studio. I wrote all the songs. He produced it. He played most of the instruments. My other son plays saxophone on a couple of the songs. So it was sort of a family affair. My daughter sings on it. So you know, it was kind of a family effort. We brought in a few other musicians to help out here and there, but mostly it was just me and my family.
So James, I have a nosy question for you.
Oh, go ahead.
How do you hit the post on a song you haven't even heard? How do you hit the post still?
It's just you feel it, man. You feel it. You feel it when it's a good song. You feel it. No, that's great. And just for those that don't know, Nick, your songs are on iTunes. That's where I plunked down 99 cents for that song. I do not I don't go the cheap route like Brian and steal music. I pay.
He's still using
99
Napster.
cents.
Brian's still using Napster.
Well, that's 99 cents that will go toward storm recovery somewhere.
Awesome.
Like 70 cents because 30 cents went to iTunes.
Yeah. Okay. They got to take.
But what's I was going to say, Nick, what's funny, our youngest son, that's what he wants to do. His major is music technology, and he makes all this music, and he sells it to these video game producers, and he plays all these instruments electronically. So, but the problem is I can't sing, so that's not happening on our side.
That's something you should have tried a long time ago. Get you a guitar and take it out to the schools with you.
Well, you know, I will say this: Brian Peters plays the accordion. His hero his hero is Myron Florin as a child.
Well, there was an interesting thing on 60 Minutes, going back to the, how the media is, changing, how the world is changing. And they had these two kids that were, 30 under 30 in, Inc. magazine, and they created a company called Stripe, which is, breaking, a lot of the molds in the financial industry. They call it fintech. Really changing the game. And so they, were interviewing these kids, and Leslie Stahl looked at them and said, you realize you're going to put hundreds of thousands of people out of work if this happens. And I mean, they look like they've been hit in the solar plexus. And, they looked at her, and the kid had a great comeback. He's like, I think you don't have enough faith in human nature to know that people are creative enough to, to roll with the punches and do what they need to do in order to, to survive. And, he said, I have a lot more faith in human nature, but, all these things, they're hurting a lot of people, but at the same time, they're ways that we're having to adapt and change and lead. And of course, James, you've been a big part of that. You've been saying the same messages that Nick's saying to us tonight, to the young people. And I hope they're listening.
Yeah, listen, it's not a discouraging message. You have the chance to come in and build an exciting new model. What we did for years and years, like Nick says, it's over. It's done. Something marvelous will come out of this that will be better and more efficient and reach more people and be more relevant. So I think it's a great time for young people. But like Nick says, if you think you're going to come in here and wear some nice clothes and get your really nice hairdo and get your teeth white and have non-regional diction and make, $800,000 a year doing television weather, those days have passed you by. But there's something better out there. So I think it's a great time. All right, and I tell you what, we got to take a break here, Bill, and everybody. So we're going to take a quick pause for Professor Peters and Tony Rice. We'll come back with Aubrey in the email segment. We'll do the weather roundup, picks of the week, and much more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
WeatherBrains 101 with Professor Peters.
Our atmosphere is composed of a mixture of gases which we term air. The atoms and molecules that make up air are constantly moving in random directions, and in spite of their tiny size, they exert a force in what we observe as pressure. Each molecule is way too small to feel and only exerts a tiny bit of force. But when we sum the forces from the large number of molecules that strike a surface each moment, then the total observed pressure can be considerable. Air pressure can be increased or decreased one of two ways. First, simply adding molecules to any particular container will increase the pressure. A larger number of molecules in any particular container will increase the number of collisions in pressure. The second way of increasing or decreasing air pressure is by the addition or subtraction of heat. Adding heat to any particular container can transfer energy to air molecules. The molecules will move with increased velocity, striking the container's boundary with greater force, which again we observe as an increase in pressure. Since molecules move in all directions in the atmosphere, air pressure can be exerted in all directions. As you go up in the atmosphere, the number of molecules decreases and the density of air therefore is less, meaning a decrease in air pressure. While the atmosphere extends more than 15 miles up, 1/2 of the air molecules in the atmosphere are contained within the first 18,000 feet. Because of this decrease in pressure with height, it is very hard to compare the air pressure at ground level from one location to another, especially when the elevations of each site differ. Therefore, to give meaning to the pressure values observed at each station, the station air pressure readings are converted to a value with a common denominator. That common denominator is the sea level elevation. At observation stations around the world, the air pressure reading, regardless of the observation station elevation, is converted to a value that would be observed if that instrument were located at sea level. Now, we'll follow up next week in a continuation of the discussion of air pressure. If you have a question about the weather, drop an email to question@weatherbrains.com.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your Astronomy Outlook.
40 years ago today, Voyager 1 was launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Along with its twin, Voyager 2, the Voyager spacecraft were to conduct close-up studies of Jupiter and Saturn, Saturn's rings, and the larger moons of the two planets. That original 5-year mission was extended to include flybys of the two outermost giant planets, Uranus and Neptune. Eventually, the pair would explore all 4 giant outer planets of our solar system, 48 of their moons, and the unique system of rings and magnetic fields around those planets. On August 25, 2012, a change in the plasma environment around the spacecraft was detected, marking the exit of Voyager 1 from the heliosphere. This made it the first probe to leave our solar system. Stop by the NASA JPL booth at WeatherFest this Saturday in Norfolk, Virginia, and say hi. You can learn about the atmospheres of other planets, including what those Voyagers helped teach us. You'll also learn why Earth's atmosphere is so special. Also join me in the Nauticus conference room on the 2nd floor at 1 p.m. for a look at weather across the solar system. I should also plug my talk at the NWA Broadcaster Workshop on Sunday, September 11th. I'll be sharing some ideas on how to use astronomy to engage viewers at 10:45. That's your Astronomy Outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
Hi, I'm Carol Fowler, a former news director and founder of the Soch Reports. I have a question for you. What if it were possible to double your follower growth simply by changing the way you use social media? Here's the thing. When it comes to growing your footprint, as a meteorologist, there are basically 4 possible bottlenecks, any one of which would prevent you from reaching your social goals. And everybody tends to have at least one thing holding them back. The challenge is that it's difficult to have the perspective to identify what's wrong and how to fix it. And that's where the Soch Reports comes in. Solving this problem for personal brands is what my team and I do all day, every day. If you've struggled to grow social media fans, or maybe your company is pressuring you to get more page likes, if you've watched your competitors or peers get levels of engagement that make you scratch your head, or you're hoping to improve your social worth to get a raise or maybe a new job, and you've struggled with how to do that, here's what I recommend. Go to our website, thesochreports.com, and sign up for a free trial. And as a special offer for those of you attending NWA, 20 people who sign up now will have their custom analysis ready to pick up at the conference. We'll schedule time to walk through everything and answer your questions. So go to thesochreports.com. That's THESOCREPORTS.com. We look forward to working with you.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
All right, weather roundup for September 6, 2016. We've actually done a lot of weather roundup here. We talked about Hermine, which is going to exit stage right here in a few days. We have a system coming up the Gulf of California by the name of Newton that could bring some moisture to the southwest United States in coming days. I noticed, gentlemen and lady, we had snow in parts of Montana and Idaho in the high elevations. That was kind of exciting. Love to see those cams that show the snow up there. The first flakes of the season begin to fall. But since I see Aubrey here, you know what I need to do? I need to play this music because, what's she doing? Is she ready for this? I hope so.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
Oh, I'm just teasing. Yes, I've got lots of letters and another topic to talk about. So we'll go ahead and get to the letters first, and then I have something I'd like to throw in. So If I could, I think I'm going to start with Scott. Scott always sends us lots and lots of emails, and Scott has something for Professor Peters. Good morning, Professor. I would appreciate it if you could talk about the methods that TV stations use to be able to continue broadcasting like nothing ever happened, despite the fact that maybe a transmission tower holding up the antenna or antennas was maybe struck by lightning. So maybe that could be a future topic.
If I knew anything about that topic, I would definitely address it.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna hang Brian on top of our 2,000-foot tower during a thunderstorm, and
I'll lick my finger and point it way up.
Personal research on that.
We'll see if he's still talking at the end or not.
Yeah.
Robert Keel sent us in a link for the Foliage Network. Don't know if it's been discussed on the WeatherBrains or not, but the folks at the Dan Patrick Show talked about it this morning. This was last week, and actually my brother is a huge fan of Dan Patrick and was asking me about it. And I definitely heard of the Foliage Network before, but he said that they have something where they do webcam videos on YouTube, and I was on the site, and I guess it might be kind of hard to follow since the foliage hasn't started yet. But they may have some webcam networks, but they, of course, it's getting to be foliage season. When does it start up in Vermont? Is that mid-September?
July. Brian is our Vermont guy.
Yeah, I'd say mid-September.
Mid-September? Gosh, getting close.
Getting close.
And John Huntington sent us a couple of links about Termine and also some surfers.
Who definitely don't pay any attention to hurricane statements.
Of course not. And we'll get back to that hurricane statement in just a moment. But this one was sent in by Chris White, Dixie Alley versus a standard tornado alley. Apparently, tornado activity is shifting east and south. And let me get the quote up so I can read it correctly.
Get the bell ready, James.
It shows evidence that the central area of the annual tornado activity has moved from Oklahoma to follow James Spann 100% 24/7 and has moved to Alabama.
Oh boy.
Great.
And has nothing to do with climate change.
It has everything to do with climate change. And it's all because James Spann is in Alabama.
And we drive on the right side of the road.
So James, looks like you're the bullseye.
We need to get Chuck Doswell back on this show.
Oh boy.
And I would love to hear his comments on that.
Except that you couldn't broadcast those.
That's right. We are on the television. We'll do the Chuck thing whenever we're not on the broadcast television side here.
Yeah.
And then also, so thank you again for your emails, and we'll I'll show you where to email those to in just a moment. But speaking of Hermine and the hurricane local statements, I received 12 text messages. 12, is that right? 12? 11 hurricane local statements for my area on September 3rd. And we had zero effect. And I tweeted at the National Weather Service because my phone was blowing up. My Facebook was blowing up. I was out of town. My husband wasn't feeling well, trying to take care of some personal stuff and traveling. And my phone was going berserk, not only because of these local statements, but also because people were freaking out, saying, I thought we weren't getting an effect in the valley from it. What's going on? This is confusing. And all the way down, I counted 11 paragraphs, is where it says that the western part of Virginia and eastern West Virginia were to see no impact. So I tweeted at the National Weather Service, and they said, unfortunately, that is the way that the HLS is designed. It's now a CWA-wide product. That change was made a few years ago, and of course, this was the first year that NWSDC Baltimore has had to issue those because of activity. But I had to call the station and make sure that we stayed on top of it because people were panicking at all these alerts that they were getting for us.
So how are they getting the alerts on a phone app or?
They were being texted out. So anywhere you have severe weather alerts, whether you signed up through us, through AccuWeather, through weather.com, wherever you sign up for text alerts, these hurricane weather statements were coming out.
Yeah, Brian's a former NWS guy. We need like Rick on here. Rick is not available tonight. His daughter, I think, had a function or something, a birthday or something. But the
HLS became a couple of years ago. But as Aubrey was pointing out, I think that there's been no hurricane activity to speak of with any kind of landfalling hurricanes. So the change has probably been not noticed by anybody because it hasn't been used, but now that it's being used, it's kind of bothersome to some people.
And it looks like from our area, there was one county out of the whole national, the LWX, CWA, one county, St. Mary's County, that had a tropical storm warning, St. Mary's County in Maryland.
Right.
And how does that overlap with your television market?
It doesn't at all. St. Mary's.
So you had no counties in your DMA were involved in this?
Not even anywhere near us. Not even neighboring counties. We're probably 6 counties away from the coast. And then out of all the counties that Sterling has, that's one county in their CWA that was affected. And and I get coastal areas and their hands may be tied by NHC making these changes, but this is certainly something that I think is very, very concerning, especially with the fact that all of a sudden the model shifted midweek and we weren't sure where this thing was going to go, and then it continued out to sea as it originally kind of had been thought. And so people go from, okay, well, no effect to possibly an effect, and possibly a good effect, depending on what model you looked at on Wednesday, and then to absolutely nothing, and then all of these statements are coming out.
Well, we got to get some kind of summit here. We've got to get everybody in a padded cell for 6 hours and figure this out, because this is confusion, and this is what we need to be doing during events like this. We need to send a simplified, unified, consistent message that's easy to understand, with no conflicting information among the weather professionals. If we can't do it ourselves, then you got all these jabronis, the kids and their Facebook pages and everybody else. It's just mass chaos. And if we can't do it among ourselves, we got a real problem here. We've got to work this out. But while we're on the subject, very quickly, and again, anybody jump in on this, because this is not my territory, but it seems as though a lot of forecasters and meteorologists took a lot of heat for the lack of impact on the New Jersey shore with Hermine. And Aubrey, I guess you're closer than anybody else here, but it seems as though the advertised forecast was wind and rain and horrible conditions, and it turns out that it was sunny. You saw all these pictures of sunshine and these business owners. We closed down because of you guys. And now the surf was obviously very dangerous, but the weather was pretty good. Did you hear of any kickback up there from the haters?
I haven't heard of that, but I know, like I said, I was at wedding family stuff all weekend. But from the forecast that I was looking at, and from numerous outlets that I saw numerous meteorologists talking about it wasn't going to be the rain, it was going to be the storm surge and the beach erosion and the high surf that were the main impacts from this. And I know I even heard a meteorologist say, even if it's going to be a sunny day, if you're heading to the beach, don't get in the water.
Well, don't you think a lot of this is post-Sandy effects? This is the rebound effect from that event for those people, because you could not get to the National Weather Service website when all the warnings started going up on the East Coast that day. I was in Norfolk. I guess it was Wednesday. And you could not even access the National Weather Service website for a period of time. And I assume that it was because the traffic volume was so heavy. And to your earlier point, Aubrey, I don't know why any, weather agent, weather app or weather program would be sending out the HLSs. They should still be using the, the actual warnings. Like you mentioned, St. Mary's County was in a tropical storm warning. That's the product that people should be, they should demand that their providers not overburden them with these long, lengthy statements that are for the whole CWA when, they're still issuing the products by county or, for those products they're county issued. And, you only need to know if you're in that county.
I'm going to,
actually, they're issued by zone, Bill.
Yes. Well, technically, yeah, you're right, Brian.
Yeah, which is not always county. The zone.
That's precisely right. Because in Alabama we have 67 counties and 69 zones, right?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, but up there in the, I don't know in the Northeast exactly how many are not, because there's some local cities that actually have FIPS numbers.
True. And
that adds another level of complexity to it all. But Aubrey, I'm concerned because the HLS is huge.
It is.
I mean, that statement, I mean, good Lord.
It's a novel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to screen share.
It's really pretty, though. It's kind of freaking me out. It's kind of like an acid
I'm going to try and... All right. But
I'm about to have a seizure here.
I'm sorry. The statement that came up... Am I not... Okay. The statement that came up... Can you see this? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I saw it.
It has the entire warning area highlighted. The whole area, the whole D.C., Baltimore, LWX, Annapolis, Alexandria, the Shenandoah Valley, the whole area highlighted. Yep. And if anything, at the top it should say, this is only for St. Mary's County, Virginia. Only.
Whoever the provider is, that needs to be sought out in that situation. And you should turn that off as a product, or they should stop sending it, because there's a separate product that went out with a VTech that warned St. Mary's County that they were in a tropical storm warning, and that's what you need to pay attention to.
Well, mine was the INWS alert, which I never get weather statements from, but I know several people, some that signed up for, I know a couple of them were AccuWeather. I don't know the other providers, but that those statements were being issued.
Well, we're defeating ourselves when we preach storm-based warnings, and we're trying to simplify. We're trying not to overwarn. We're trying not to hype, but we do things like that. That's just counterproductive.
Yeah, and the HLSs, Bill, are not zone specific. Every one of the HLSs I've been able to find has the entire county warning area.
I just looked at all the ones from Sterling.
Yeah.
Over this event, and you're right. Every single county is involved, but that's not the VTech product. It's not like a winter storm watch where there's a header and then there are individual county products, following because I thought, well, maybe in the body of this HLS, I'm going to find the actual tropical storm warnings, but no, those are separate VTech.
Right, and that's why I think, because all those zones are in there, that's why it alerted all those areas that Aubrey was just showing on her map. So
they need to turn that off. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, that's bad.
And let me
I'll find someone and send an email.
And while I'm still here, this is an article that was in Philly.com. The shore merchants, they scared everyone away. With apologies to all the people who left for home Saturday because of Hermine, and to stung shore merchants, Sunday was a mostly gorgeous day at the Jersey Shore. And it goes on and on. But again, I can't really comment on this because I was not involved in the forecasting process, but the bottom line is there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. We'll see if we can get somebody on from up there. And
James, can I jump in?
Go.
Jump. I mean, just like I said, we were saying on the air, hey, the sky will possibly be sunny, cloud free, but it's not rain that we're looking for. It's the surge, it's the high waves, it's the rip currents, and I know a lot of us said that those very words, that it's not going to look like it looked in Florida. It's a different storm here, and it has different effects, but nevertheless the effects can be life-threatening. So I think we were getting the message out, but maybe it just wasn't received completely because of what people had seen with the rain and the flooding and the wind in Florida, thinking it was going to look like that in the Northeast.
And by the way, Brian, I don't know that girl's number on the bad idea T-shirt ad message.
I wasn't going to ask.
Yeah. So we've got to do picks of the week, and is the time on the clock up here says I've got to go to the Studio A. So Bill Murray, I got to flip this thing over to you and let you pick it up from here.
Awesome. Thank you, James. Yeah, it's fun to do picks of the week. Let's start with Aubrey over there. Aubrey, I know you got a good pick of the week for us.
Yeah, actually, thanks to Grant Gilmore, I happened to be perusing through Twitter as we were starting the show, and I saw this great site. So this is through coast.noaa.gov, and it will you can define like your radius area. Like I have 65 nautical miles, so about 50 miles radius within Harrisonburg, and it'll show me all of the hurricanes that have struck within that area. So we've got 26 storms. And going back to, I think the oldest one looks to be 1863. But that's really cool. And you can see the exact path, and it's color-coded by, it's tropical storm, tropical depression, and all that good stuff. We don't get very many Category 5 hurricanes coming through the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. But
how bad was Hurricane Camille in your area?
Camille was catastrophic for our area in Nelson County. In fact, on Thursday, and I've already done this, I am airing a special sweeps piece that's airing Thursday about the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Fran. And I found this great really cool story of how the water came within an inch from their home, and they decided they couldn't live near the river anymore, and they put it on a truck and moved it to another piece of their property, safe and sound, on top of a hill. And it is the coolest story. They built the house when they were engaged, and they still live in the same house, just in a slightly higher location.
And then the tornado hit it. And it was So Aubrey, thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing you in Norfolk.
Can't wait. Party on, guys.
Yeah, that's going to be very nice. So wish you could get there Saturday, but we understand. So, Brian Peters,
I'll be there to party Saturday night.
There you go. We'll see you Saturday, Brian Peters, in Norfolk. What's your pick of the week?
Yes. They had that earthquake in Oklahoma, and one of the interesting side effects is that before the earthquake, the Doppler radars caught a lot of birds. The radar's pretty sensitive. And so the Capital Weather Gang actually ran an article. It was Angela Fritz, who I think has been on before, and John Hopewell. Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting article about that and the sensitivity of the radar. And of course, there's the question of exactly what does it all mean, but that's for the earthquake people and the bird people to figure out. But
so was the earthquake at a time that was different from these typical bird fly-offs?
I think the birds appeared. It seems like I've read so many different articles, but it seems like they were airborne about the same time, as if they knew something was about to happen.
Well, that'd be an interesting paper for you to do for NWA next year, Brian.
I wonder if they can go back and look at Italy with the quake not too long ago and see if there was any, granted, mountainous region, but.
Yeah, I don't know about Doppler radar over there.
Yeah, they may get a lot of use of that in Oklahoma with all the fracking, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's kind of interesting.
We felt the earthquake at my house Saturday morning. I was sitting in my recliner actually reading, and I felt I actually heard what sounded like rain on the roof, a light rain. And I thought, well, no, I know it's not raining because I'm a weatherman. And then I felt this little bit of a shaky wave come through. It wasn't very strong, but it was definitely felt on Saturday morning.
I tell you, I have never been as concerned as I was when the earthquake hit the Mid-Atlantic. I forget the year, 4 or 5 years ago. Aubrey, you might know. Nick, you might know. But I was in Washington.
2012, right? We just celebrated the 4th anniversary. Yeah.
I was in Washington, D.C., and sitting in a hotel, and I really thought it was a terrorist attack. I thought this is and I ran, out of the office because the building, the walls were shaking like waves. And there was a maintenance man in the hotel who was from Thailand, and he was just yelling, loudly, "Earthquake, earthquake," because he had experienced them.
Wow.
Where he was from, and it really was a shocking experience for me. So, yeah. So unfortunately, with the earthquakes increasing in Oklahoma, you may feel more of them in your easy chair, Kevin.
Yeah, it's quite cool. Hey, if I can do my pick, because I got to run.
Do it.
Show. We may have done this years ago. We've been doing the show so long now, but I just love this thing. It is if you go and search for, we've all seen these for years, the coded hurricane vortex data messages that come out of the planes as they're out there sniffing around. But this is from myfoxhurricane.com, and if you find that data message and copy and paste it in there, it'll decode it for you, and it's really, really cool. So that's mine.
That is cool.
Awesome. We love following those recon reports. Thank you for that, Kevin. And
I've got James's if you want.
Yeah, hit it, Brian.
Yeah, James is using the Washington Post also, following my lead, of course. But he's there was a TV alert sent out in New York, I believe, and apparently it went out incomplete, in which it indicated the evacuation of a much larger area than what was intended. And so it's a Washington Post article about that and the use of the latest warning system and how it kind of messed up.
Yeah, again, it seems like everything is amplified because of the post-Sandy effect, probably.
Yeah, could be.
Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Brian.
Yes.
And Nick Walker, I don't know that I can unmute you. You'll have to unmute yourself, but I'm sure you've come up with a pick of the week.
Well, I wasn't prepared for one, but I can give you one. It was while we were on the air with Hermine, and Hermine, the surge was coming into Cedar Key, Florida. And I don't know if anybody saw it, but I tell you what, it was amazing to see the surge come in, and there was this remote camera that we kept going to. It was, a camera that was, I guess, set up by the city or something. It was just something that we could go to, and we watched the surge continue to come up, and then there was this dock that began to float into the picture. It was a dock from a restaurant that had broken loose in the surge, and it kept moving around. It was just mesmerizing to watch this. And then we watched it as it came up, and it boom hit the camera, and then the camera was gone. It got out the camera. Actually, you could see the camera go into the water and move around. It was on weather.com. There was an article on weather.com. I tweeted it out as well that evening. Just incredible to watch, sort of damage in slow motion from Hermine.
Do you have a link?
Let's see if the article is still there. I'm hitting.
That would
the
help.
link.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, the video is still there on weather.com.
We're losing him. Not on my watch. Super
that.
cool.
It's
can you put the link in the side notes there, Nick?
Or just
I don't know how to do that, but
you can just email it to email@weatherbrains.com too.
I will do that.
All right, guys. Just moments ago,
Okay. or go to my Twitter feed and skip down to that evening.
Yeah, past all the ones about the weather fest. That's right. Yeah. We appreciate those, though, Nick. Those are very helpful. We really appreciate that. Thank you for being on the show tonight, Nick. It's been great having you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's been great being with you folks. Love it.
And we can't tell you how much we appreciate you, what you're going to do on Saturday. That's going to be a fun event, and
I'm really looking forward to it.
The paper up there wrote a story on it today, and had a really cool headline. So we've been watching the free ticket sales rolling in tonight. So
all right,
it should be a fun event. But thank you for that, Nick.
You bet.
And my pick of the week is going to be the chicken and dumplings that my wife made for dinner tonight. Boy, they were outstanding. You should have stayed for dinner, Brian Peters.
I guess so.
We're losing him. Not on my watch. Super glue.
There we go. Nick is going to be our new soundboard guy. Except James just reached out from the dark side there and muted him.
That's the thing about going to weather.com to this page.
All right, guys, just moments ago.
You can't stop the. Okay.
Yeah, the video keeps on coming.
Just keeps on coming. Okay, but I'm exiting out of that right now. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Nick. But my real pick of the week is our old friend Tim Vasquez has started a new YouTube channel. He calls it Meteorology Lab, and it's a really cool forecasting live stream. So I would recommend that you go and check that out. That's my official pick of the week. Now, interestingly, Brian Peters, I know James might be lurking back there somewhere, and you too, Nick, but he got a takedown notice from the management of Pink Floyd over the NASA footage that he was legally introduced using as an intro. And listening to Leo Laporte and This Week in Tech and those shows, that seems to be a real problem. With people that claim that legitimate video needs to be pulled down without warning. So I thought that was interesting. So you get a chance, go over there and check it out, because Tim says that it has allowed him to reconnect with his audience and has sort of infused him with a new enthusiasm for new media and meteorology. So check out Tim Vasquez's meteorology lab. So any other business to bring before this august group tonight, Brian Peters?
Not that I know of.
All right. Well, we thank you, Nick Walker, for being with us. It's always fun to have you. Be looking forward to seeing you in Norfolk next week. And, of course, WeatherBrains is the weekly netcast about weather. We've been doing this for 11 years. It's hard to imagine.
Wow.
Every week, week in, week out, and every week I have a ball.
Wow.
And because we talk to great people like Nick Walker. And next week we'll be coming to you from the Broadcasters Dinner at the National Weather Association, which is always a huge event. And Brian has some real cool contraption that he'll bring, and hopefully make it technically sound good if he gets it through the TSA. And gets it to Norfolk, we'll actually be able to be on the air. But that's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll probably interview Nick again next week. It'll be like a twofer from the Broadcaster Dinner. But we hope you'll join us. 6 days from now, because this show, of course, being recorded on a Tuesday night. We normally record on Monday night. And next week we'll be back on schedule because of Brian's penchant for Florida State football. We had to record tonight, but we'll be back with you 6 days from now from the National Weather Association meeting. Until then, I'm Bill Murray saying I hope you have a great week and see you in Norfolk on Saturday.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you then.
Bye. Brian, thank you so much for getting the shirts. You did a fantastic job.
You're certainly welcome.
Those are awesome.
See you Friday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Bye, Kevin. Bye, James.
Bye.
Hello, friends. All right, guys. I think y'all, great show. Good to have Nick on the show tonight. And next week, I think we'll be live from the National Weather Association meeting up in Virginia. But that is it for this week. If you want to, if you're watching this live on Tuesday night, come join us for Song of the Night on my Twitter feed here in a few minutes. Y'all have a great week. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and God bless. Bye-bye.